There is a storm, so to speak, starting, and it's about to start getting weird in the world. That is, of course, unless you live in the UK, where things have already started to get weird. But it's going to be spreading to the rest of the world soon, if not in September, then in October, November for sure. Welcome to the September 2024 Psychic Predictions. Get ready for the psychic predictions of world news, Bitcoin, and some stock predictions as well. The energetics of the month, advice for the month, and whatever else you may need to know for the month of September coming up. Of course, this information comes to me in meditation as I tune into it psychically. I also do psychic readings for individuals, and I have a Patreon where I do all sorts of psychic predictions on all sorts of things. But anyways, let's get into September. So when I was tuning into this, the first thing that I was seeing was the Democratic nominee being furious, and also there being a little bit of disappointment. So it doesn't seem to be a good month for her. I was also getting Hollywood coming through to me, as if there may be people from Hollywood who are speaking out against her or saying things not flattering towards her. Of course, I think Hollywood is literally Hollywood, but also representing a bigger movement of people who may be famous, whether they are connected with Hollywood or whether they're in the news or wherever they may be. People saying not so great things about her being presented to the public. I don't get the sense that this is going to be the end of her, however. I do see after September it looks better for her going into October. And she may have a good month in October, but then again, moving forward, November doesn't look as great for her either. So, previously I had seen for, let's just say, Mr. T, for the sake of avoiding algorithms. Mr. T, I said last month, was feeling betrayed before it happened, of course. And what happened was obviously switching of opponents, and he was winning in the polls, and then suddenly he was losing in the polls. And also, there was a talk of some prison somewhere, I don't know the details, clearing out a room for him, as if they had already decided that he was going to be in that prison in that location. Of course, this didn't really play out in the way that some people may have hoped. But regardless, that was kind of like a lot coming at him, and I could see it being a sense of betrayal. Moving forward, I do see this switching places, and so now he will be more on the upside, and kind of a role reversal moving forward into September. So, moving on to Israel, last month I did say, before all of the chaos happened, before, they started attacking each other, back when it was mostly just Israel versus the Palestinians, before Hezbollah and all that blew up, I was saying that the attention would be moved away from Gaza and more towards the West, but I realized that I misspoke when I said that, and what I meant was that it wasn't going to be to the west of Israel, but that the location that I'm speaking of, Israel, would be to the west of that. So I wrote my notes and I kind of just butchered on the delivery of that. But regardless, now that is what we're seeing. It's a big situation, lots of fear around what may happen in the future based off of that. Of course, I don't edit my videos, so I don't edit things out. So if I misspeak, it is what it is. So I also don't add ads either. So if you appreciate me not adding ads, you can always give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for monthly predictions if you have not yet, every month before the month starts. So anyways, I'm seeing that continuing, but it does seem to simmer down a little bit moving forward into the future months from now. Now, way back in May, I said, and that was like 3 months ago, I said Russia is going to start to do worse for the few following months or so until September. And here we are, October 7th or October 27th that I'm doing this video. September is right around the corner. And it looks like they have had some serious setbacks recently, with Ukraine going through the Russian border and going into Russian land. Things that previously we were saying the United States would not support, but now we are supporting that. Regardless of that, I do see this playing out as part of the reason why Russia is going to bounce back, because they're going to, defend themselves further and increase their offense, if that makes sense. Now, if you do want to see where I said that prediction way back, I will provide a link to the psychic prediction that I did for May 3 months ago. So this recent Ukrainian offensive into Russia, I do see backfiring. However, after September, in October, what I was seeing was attacks in Russia again, and I was seeing a helicopter, so it doesn't seem so much like they're breaking through on foot, but there may be drones or things of that nature involved. And it looks bad for Russia. So October, not good for Russia. I also got the sense that there's going to be some sort of external help assisting Ukraine in doing this, and I don't know if this is going to involve NATO or spark some sort of bigger war. I don't think it's going to spark a bigger war, though. I didn't get the sense of that. But it does seem that it could be pulling on reserves that could be flirting with that idea and bringing a lot of fear in about that. However, overall, in the future, as I've been saying since before the war started, I still see Russia having the upper hand in the long term, regardless of what may be happening in the next couple months or so. So speaking of the next couple months, this is going to be a turbulent time for the economy, and I know you may be hearing a lot of concerns about a possible recession and things like that all over the news. I have been saying since 2020 that 2024 would be the year where the economy is the worst, or the year that people should actually worry about a recession. And so far, besides for the obvious situation in 2020, the economy has been doing pretty decent. But what I'm seeing for September through November is a lot of struggle, a lot of economic danger for finances. Now, in my 2024 psychic prediction video that I did back in 2023 before the year started, I had seen a vision of an owl, and it was as if this owl was representing wisdom, and it was saying that there was going to be a false optimism for the stock market and crypto and Bitcoin. And I think if you look back, you can kind of see that there's a lot of optimism, and there's a lot of people saying it's gonna go to the moon, and it's just been going like this back and forth for a long time. So I do believe that that's going to continue for the rest of the year. And I also mentioned many other things in that video. You can check out that video. I will provide a link in the description if you want to see the full 2024 psychic predictions that I made. But anyways, there was a scare last month in the stock market, and I did say last prediction that there was going to be a scare in the stock market, but that it will not actually be a crash. And that's what happened. It did go down, but it wasn't nearly as severe as people thought it was going to be, and it came right back up, and it's actually overall higher than it was at the beginning of the month. So, like I said, it's basically from start to end, it's basically sideways about where it was. If anything, it's a slight gain. So that was not as bad as people thought. I do see December being a month where it could gain some more in the future. But for the most part, it does seem to be going overall sideways with some rocky volatility along the way. October and November are especially bad. I've been seeing this for a long time now. About 6 months ago or so, I actually started pointing out on my Patreon how there's a lot of altcoins that are going down around that time. And so I started realizing that there's something going on around November. Although more recently, it's starting to appear like October may actually be more so when most of the damage is done, but it will continue into November. So that could be a good time to buy the dip, because I do see the price going up and improving throughout the rest of the year after November, but also into 2025. So 2025 seems to be somewhat boring, but still positive. And I say boring in the way because of it not being as good as many people are hoping and wishing, similar to how 2024 was, especially for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin did go down sooner than expected this month, because last month I said that it was going to come down towards the end of the month, but it came down more close to the beginning of the month. But regardless, it's still been rocky terrain as I described, and an overall downward motion. So we're basically at the same spot that I said we would be by the end of this month. Moving into September, I do see it continuing to be rocky and sideways. And then, of course, October is where the volatility really sinks in. Due to a lot of this lack of gains in the crypto market, on my Patreon page, I've resorted to posting more about stocks, just to, post something that's worthwhile and more interesting that could see more gains. So I've been posting a lot about NVIDIA for the past month, and we've seen some massive gains and made some massive profit off of that so far. I do see September continuing to look good for NVIDIA. I do see steps up, kind of like it goes up, step up, a little bit at a time throughout the month. And I get the sense that it could be a good time to sell at the start, like very start of October. Although, of course, this is not investment advice. This is just my personal opinion. Um, People on Patreon have been telling me that there is a earnings report coming out tomorrow, actually, August 28th. And it does seem to me as if there may be a delayed positive effect on that. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it seems almost like it doesn't really have a huge effect until later on, like a couple days, maybe later in the week, where it starts to go up more. I could be wrong on that, but that was just the general sense I was getting. Okay, so moving on to more of what's going on in the world energetically. So the storm is coming, and by the storm I just mean kind of chaos in the world in general. And it's more than just symbolic, but I was also getting the sense that this is very literal, and there will be very harsh weather coming up for September. And last month I called the eye of the storm. And I believe that in some way September will have a little bit of that, but it will be kind of in between where the storm is forming, but the storm doesn't really happen quite until October. But we're not really necessarily in the eye of the storm anymore. We're kind of somewhere in between the eye of the storm and the actual storm, if that makes any sense. So there's an increase in earth changes that basically are climate change and natural disasters. And this is going to continue increasing each year and happening earlier than expected for the season. I was seeing lots of people being trapped inside due to excess rain and bad weather. And I feel like this has two meanings because it's literal, but there's also like this feeling of people being like staying home and staying where it's safe also symbolically. So there isn't a whole lot going on yet, but I was seeing visions of many watching eyes, as if there's all these people that are just watching and observing what's going on in the world and all the chaos that's happening. And things are slowly turning more and more chaotic leading into October. So throughout the month of September leading into October, that's what I'm picking up on. I was also getting the phrase follow the money, and I'm not saying that as advice. That is good advice, but the reason why it showed up is because it seems as though people are following the money and people are really paying attention to the details in ways that people in the past had not done, especially involving geopolitics and things of that nature. So that is a big shift in consciousness that is taking place. Also synchronistic with the earth changes as well and the frequency of the earth shifting. This is all kind of interrelated. This is also bigger than who will be the future leader of the US. So it doesn't really matter too much who wins. This is just a thing that is going to happen regardless of politics and who wins, etc., etc. So people are waking up to the corruption either way, and there's going to be a big demand people are demanding change. People are demanding that the world basically pushes out a lot of the old corrupt ways. And again, this doesn't matter who wins in November. So yeah, this is part of a big shift that I've been talking about since 2020, actually. Or maybe towards the end of 2020, it's been like 3 or 4 years or so I've been saying this, how we're in a shift of humanity especially regarding finances and government, until 2027, and the world is going to look so different in 2027. Things are seriously breaking down and rebuilding on the financial and governmental level. That doesn't mean that the changes will stop at 2027. That's just kind of like the first phase. After that, it's more of an integrating and breaking down of society into the 2030s and 2038. There could be some serious problems with the world, the environment. You could call it climate change, things of that nature. Earth changes. That should be a big deal around the year 2038 is what I've been getting. And after that, there will be a complete restructuring of society down to the core. And human culture will just be completely different. There will be massive shifts in technology as well as the way that people operate, and the whole system of just how everything functions in the world. We won't really be operating from a place of nations and countries anymore. I talk more about this on my Patreon, so you can read more about that there if you want. But for now, it's the government and the finances and the breaking down of the top-down control system. Of course, this is a grassroots movement, so it's not like there's like one place that this movement is coming from. It's just kind of being evoked within everyone simultaneously on an individual level due to the consciousness of the people and the planet as a whole, as I've been mentioning in my previous videos about this shift in frequency. This is particularly taking place in the US for the month of September, that being the breaking down of this top-down rulership. But it's going to continue in the US after September as well, and it's also going to continue in the whole world as a macro environment for a good long while. So it's not just the US. So when I was meditating and asking what's going to happen, what should I talk about in this video, India came up. And I got the word controversy related to India. I was kind of confused what this was about, so I ended up actually looking online and reading the news about India. And there has been a lot of protesting for women's rights. And this is not quite like we have in the US. This is a much bigger deal. This is just basically giving women the basic rights and to be safe. And there was a tragic situation. I don't want to mention it here because there are so many words I'm not allowed to say on YouTube, but horrible things happened in a hospital where they should never happen. And so there's a bigger movement in India is what I'm getting around that, but it's also bigger than just that situation. I'm getting that there's a cultural shift taking place in India. And of course this is specific for September, but again, as a whole world, we're all waking up, we're all seeing the corruption, we're all starting to speak out and demand more change. With this, we will be seeing more chaos and more disagreements, especially within the next 2-3 months or so, leading to November or so. There are political events taking place in November, but I don't think it's necessarily just related to that. It seems bigger than just that. It's part of the shift in consciousness. I'm seeing a major change in the attitude that people have towards governments in the world, worldwide, and the top-down rulership is eroding because of this for the rest of 2024. Again, it doesn't matter who wins, who is the next leader of the U.S. The opinions of the general public about global concerns and what are not priorities will shift dramatically in 2025 is what I'm getting. And that people will start working together more in 2025 despite the chaos and division that we are experiencing leading into that. So at this point, I like to go over what is the month good for and what is the month bad for. So this is kind of a strange one. I always get weird answers here. But when I asked, what is this month good for? I saw dishes, doing the dishes. And this is literal and symbolic because it's about cleaning and sorting and organizing, which were the other things that showed up as positive for this month. So it's a great month for really organizing, sorting things out, cleaning. But it could also be good for dishes in particular. Just something to, I guess, consider when you're trying to figure out what to do with your day. So, what is this month bad for? What I got was someone jumping off the high dive, trying to make a big splash. And of course, this is symbolic, trying to make a big splash in the world, trying to be influential. And so I was getting that it's better for the month of September to walk the middle path. And when I asked for advice, the words that came through were stay away from choppy water. And I do believe this has a lot to do with investing, but it also has to do with more than that. I was seeing people staying in their home, as I said earlier, as a place that represents somewhere safe. And so it seems that it's better to just be safe than it is to take on major risk in general. I don't want to say that you shouldn't take on risk, but that's just the kind of general sense that I'm getting. To stay away from choppy water, at least. So things may not be as they appear is definitely what I was getting for September. And there may be a lot of hype, and this could be coming from the news, but also from social media and from people around you. And so it's better to slow down, especially when making bold moves or taking bold actions in particular is what I was getting. So that is the general advice for September. I'd like to mention also that I have a Patreon page that you can join for free, of course. I've been posting about the attacks on politicians and what's really going on behind the scenes. I even recently posted about a interesting person named Jordan Maxwell that I have actually been a fan of myself for some years. I have some books of his. I think I bought them like a decade ago by now. And anyways, I did a remote viewing, basically a remote viewing on him without knowing who he was. It was a blind reading. And, it wasn't quite what I thought. I'll just say, in his own words, the world is much more strange than you could ever imagine. So, it is a free trial, so you can, so after a week, you will be charged if you don't cancel, but canceling is super easy, and one of the reasons I don't sign up for things is because I don't know if it's going to be easy to cancel, and I'm going to not be able to figure out how to do it, but it's really easy. You click settings, which is always on the left side, and then you click membership as the option, and you literally just click cancel. So it's literally 3 clicks to cancel, so it's not an issue. It is only $5 a month to see all of my blind readings every month and have access to all of the hundreds of previous ones. I call it a psychic encyclopedia for a reason, because I want people to be able to search for names or events or subjects and be able to find information that comes up that they can use to combined with other information and hopefully help people find more of the truth. Of course, I also do hundreds, not quite thousands, but maybe, well, I don't know, hundreds, I'll say hundreds of crypto, it feels like thousands of crypto readings, but definitely hundreds of altcoins and things like that, predictions for those, as well as Bitcoin. I make updates every now and then whenever it feels like it's necessary, whenever there's major change coming. And of course I talk about the world news and I take requests on what to do readings on, etc., etc. And the link will be in the description below this video, so be sure to check out the free membership if you have not yet, and if you have already, you can always create a new account and do the free trial again if you want. I don't mind. Anyways, thanks for watching, and give this video a thumbs up if you have not yet, and subscribe for future monthly psychic predictions if you have not yet. Again, thank you for watching, and have a great day.